All right. Good evening, folks. We are back for another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Ooh, Ciroc.
Tonight, Monday, January 6th at 9 p.m., the title of our broadcast will be The Ultimate Choice: to Marry, to Divorce, or to Stay Single. Whether you're single, married, divorced, or somewhere in between, this conversation is for you. Let's embark on this journey together as we explore the multifaceted world of women's relationships and discover their diverse plans that lead to happiness, fulfillment, and personal growth. We will take a look at key factors for singleness, for example, freedom and autonomy, for marriage, companionship and support, or divorce, escape from unhealthy relationships. We also need to look at some key considerations such as personal happiness, financial stability, support systems, self awareness, and resilience. Sounds like another great show, right? Just a reminder, don't forget to tell your niece to tell another niece to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor, as well as liking and sharing our video. I think we're back up to like 928 subs, like 22 away from the next goal of 950. Come on, gang, let's get it done. So here we are. Happy New Year 2025. Starting off just right for me. I wasn't happy to go back to work last week for just 2 days on a Thursday, but then been off since we did I go to work Monday and then no, well we didn't have what today is Monday, so yeah, so I was off work today because of the weather. Then I'm off tomorrow, so looks like another short week at work. I know people like, how the hell y'all be so happy as educators to be away from kids? Got to work it. Got to be there. Got to be there. You'll understand why. But that's pretty much what's going on with me. We also got a guest that we're going to bring in, Victor, shortly. So, Herb, what's good with you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year, man. I got nothing to report, man. Uncle Ron's still on hiatus. He was thinking about coming in tonight, but I said, no, Ron, I got this. I said, I think I need to be in on this one because he tends to be a little softer, when it comes to this kind of thing, and I'm a little more in your face. But other than that, man, other than that, got me a little bit of Ciroc, got some hot chocolate, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to kick off this new year with some definitely some different perspectives. There's going to be some rehashing with some different perspectives and we're hoping Victor definitely brings an element to the platform that we haven't seen. So I'm ready to go, as he used to say.
And also, Auntie wants to, we might have met her. She did the promo. She wants to pop in. So I'm going to bring her in a little bit because she says she has to go to bed early. She got an eye appointment in the morning. So, and she definitely has something to say as well about the subject area. So without further ado, we're going to bring Victor in. What's going on, good brother?
Not much, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
No problem. No
Man,
problem.
we always appreciate the individuals that come in. So for our audience as well as yours, or people who follow you, give your or introduce yourself.
I'm Victor Vinciant. I'm author, podcaster, veteran of the brand Accountable Masculinity, which is the book right here too, as well. And it's about identifying the disciplined man in you. And I break down in this book a schematic of how people are attracted to each other based off of behavior to kind of give people better vetting tools on how to choose a mate. That's really what it amounts to. And it operates on 5 principles. Rule number 1 being disciplined men focus on themselves. Rule number 2, we don't argue with women. Rule number 3 is decentralized leadership, knowing when to lead, when to follow. Rule number 4 is legacy and equity, recognizing that everything that you do counts, good, bad, and different. So make sure you're doing the right thing as often as possible. And rule number 5, which is probably the most important one, is sexual discipline. Just because you can doesn't mean you should entertain sexual attraction or attention from the wrong person. So just because it's convenient doesn't mean, just because it's cheap don't mean it ain't expensive. So it's something to consider when you think about the rules that men get to operate in the world with. And if you don't get it through training, you're going to get it through, you know what I'm saying, experience. Veteran background kind of helps refine that notion. So that's what I'm about.
All right, cool.
That's cool.
Where can
Good information.
one moment, Dave? I just want to see, where can somebody, if they're looking to purchase your book, where can they get it from?
I'm about to drop the link right now in the chat. It's on Amazon.
Okay. All right, cool.
And I'll drop my bio page on there in the link, and we can start cooking.
All right. Herb, so when you came up this, what was your driving thought on, starting off the year with this subject?
Well, it's in Black America, it's certainly a contentious point, as Victor just pointed out, one of his points. But Vicky Moore in the Counselor's Corner asked the question that I really didn't think much of it. But when I came back to the post, I see it ignited a small firestorm. And the question was, why do you think women initiate divorce more? So, I mean, you got a range from finances to spousal abuse to infidelity to financial hamstringing. And what I mean by financial hamstringing is men using the finances to lord over women to keep her from going anywhere in case he becomes one of those either abusive, unfaithful, or anything where she feels her safety is compromised to where she can get out. This is one of the reasons why they always tell women, keep a nest egg, keep some getaway money, anything that can help you get out of an abusive relationship. Now, I'm not here to judge any situation. We're just here to present some alternative views and tell what it is that women, according to at least the research that I've looked up online, say why they engage in certain behaviors. Like I said, it's not for me as a man to tell a woman anything in terms of why she should or should not get married, stay single, or divorce. That's her domain. I would hope that her and the husband, in the situation, comes out to be like that, her wife, if whatever the situation is, they sit down and discuss that. That's them. But we just here to present some information. Like I always say, we're not subject matter experts, except on anything other than ourselves. So that's one of the things that piqued my curiosity with this. And like I said, it's an ongoing tug of war. I'm not going to call it a gender issue because in the middle of the two genders that very few people talk about is the law. And they're the ones who are manipulating this like Geppetto does Pinocchio.
All right. So when you look at, the way things are shaping up, like I said, it's 2025, and, you hear oftentimes women will say that, I'm single by choice, and, who says I'm not happy, I'm not looking to get married. These are women, in their 40s, 50s. And they say at this point, I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. And it's just a headache dealing with men out here. So, what's your thought process on that whole take?
Single by choice. If they truly single by choice, they wouldn't be in relationship conversations. They're single because of the choices they made. It ain't nothing else to add.
I'm not even going. Hey, that's going to be a tough one to follow, but I'm gonna have to try. In addition to that, I've asked this question of some women: And what I say is this, or what the question I ask is this: take your ideal man in every way possible, finances, temperament, sexuality, all of that stuff. And I ask this question after they get that. I ask, would you marry that individual? And a lot of women have said no, which is fine. So the question becomes, is just like Victor said, you're not necessarily single by choice. You're just single because you want to be single. Now, some people will say, well, that is a choice. Choice is having the option to do something versus just wanting to be constrained. See, a lot of women, they want their freedom, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They want that freedom until something comes along to where they need some help. Then they want to go enlist some help. And more often than not, it's from a man. And that man's going to have some requirements. And the woman more than likely is not going to want to meet those requirements. So she's not necessarily single by choice. She's single because of the conditions that she's unwilling to meet. That's not a choice. That is because you're unwilling to compromise. See, people that compromise, they understand that they got to give something to get something. And when you don't, you put yourself in a position to not be wanted. And that's the slight difference that a lot of people won't talk about. I'm single, like Victor said, I'm single by choice. Because nobody wants you? Well, no, because I haven't ran into the right man. Well, you haven't ran into the right man because you're not the right woman. And I've asked that question. You know, what kind of, and I've asked this in a friend's regard, what kind of friend are you? And if you're not the kind of friend that can meet somebody or be met halfway or give and take, then you're always going to be in that position.
I think to add on to that, because I know I was very succinct when I said it, because I like bottom line up front. Most people are that when you're in a relationship conversation, you're supposed to be single by choice. It's already looking insecure. You know what I'm saying? You don't see Dallas Cowboy fans trying to figure out what's going on with the San Diego Chargers. You don't see Chicago Bulls fans checking on the Miami Heat to figure out what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? You worry about the things that are relative to where you are. And so if you are single by choice, why are you worried about relationship conversation at all? You shouldn't even be in it. If you're a vegetarian, you don't care how much chicken is on the menu. So it's insecure to even be in a conversation that has nothing to do with you. Like even down to like break it down. Like I take everything that's gender related in terms about relationship and then put it on a comparison model to racism, right? Black people are not going into white extremist groups conversations to try to get white extremists to care about black people's issues. We keep our boundary, we keep our distance. Men don't go into women's spaces to complain about women unless they like men. So that's where I look at it. So to round all of that back up, go back to my original point. If you single by choice, be quiet. What you got to talk about if you're single by choice?
Be happy as one of our people
want to hear it. Do married people want to hear commentary from folks that's single by choice? Do people in any type of relationship care what somebody that's single by choice thinks?
And see that, and that's one of the things that we've been going back and forth, even with the group the counselor's corner, is people, say that all y'all do is female bash. All y'all do 80% of this is that, and sometimes
behavior bashing. I call it behavior bashing.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to look at it. And then some people will simply just say, well, why do you continue to be a part of it? And for me, I look at it like if you feel that way, then you must, and they've thrown out words that is toxic and all that stuff.
It's a mental
But
illness.
yeah, but they can't. They just can't stop. Just can't let it
It's a
go.
mental illness.
Yeah.
Anything you can't stop. If you
Yeah.
continuously go into conversations that beat you up, or then you wrap and trauma bond your words around everybody else, and it doesn't fit your dynamic, you are trauma bonding with terminology that has nothing to do with your personal choices in life, right?
Mhm.
So if you're single by choice, why are you getting offended by relationship conversations? It doesn't make sense. It has to be a mental illness when it doesn't make sense. So, I mean, come on.
And that's something mental health is something we always discuss on this platform as well.
Look, I'm gonna be real raw, you know what I'm saying, on this conversation. I'm gonna be very direct, because this is about behavior. That's what I wrote my book on. You know what I'm saying? What people are attracted to what people based on behavior. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes down to it, you are only responsible for your individual behavior. Your outcomes belong to you based on the decisions you make, and the decisions you make based on whether or not you're disciplined or undisciplined thinking. So there's only, like, men and women are separated by activity. All organisms are separated by activity. What's the main thing that brings men and women to the same space when they talk about relationships? It's sex. Okay. Yeah. Whether it's sport, whether it's casual sex or monogamous sex, right? That's always the conflict. You got men and women that are sexually disciplined, and then you got men and women that are sexually undisciplined. Most of the men and women that are sexually disciplined value marriage more than the sexually undisciplined group. The sexually undisciplined group of men and women are usually raised by the same type of household, which is usually single mother. The sexually disciplined household is usually led and raised by husbands that were fathers. Okay. So there's always some other guidance. So men make different decisions. Men and women make different decisions when they have a father that's active in their life and they see their parents married, versus the children that come from single mother households that are sexually undisciplined are usually more promiscuous. So the people that's always in the dating pool are generally people that's already got kids. They're usually single parents in the dating pool because their parents was in the dating pool. This stuff is real easy to see.
Making a splash.
I'm a cook. I'm telling you, I figured this out. I know what the problem is. You got too many people that's been raised by unmarried parents talking about marriage. You got too many married people that want to be single that's in single people conversations. You got too many people that's fake single by choice because they act like it's not any options, but they're not an option either. So what's up? Like, I want to smoke.
and that's the thing. And I often, share with them, like, listen, if it don't really directly impact me, I don't care what is said. You can say this about a black man. You can say this about this age group. But if it don't directly impact me personally, or you not tagging me in it, or you calling me out, then I just kind of, read it and keep it moving, and I don't internalize it. And a lot of people internalize it, and like you said, which lets you know that either it's mental health or lacking emotional intelligence to be able to move away from those discussions.
Can I throw something else on top of that emotional intelligence piece?
Sure.
So a lot of people talk about emotional intelligence, and I think that that conversation has been diluted because there's too many people not discussing the key component that you can't possess emotional intelligence if you do not have emotional discipline. Mm. Like, just because you know what's going on doesn't give you cause to respond or act out or how you express. Emotional discipline is about how you gauge your surroundings before you express what you're feeling, choosing your words, tact, recognizing there's going to be a cause and effect, second and third order effects. from how you think about something to what you say to who it impacts and who heard it and however it gets, you know what I'm saying, passed around, right? So when you talk about emotional intelligence, how emotionally intelligent are you if you can't control the way you express your emotions? So if you don't have no emotional discipline, you don't have any emotional intelligence.
Facts. I totally agree with that, because certain situations you have to have some restraint or be disciplined or come up with coping strategies, and not to flip and lose it, or go in on somebody on a post, or you're at a party or at a function or something, and something's not sitting in well with you. Poke and prod and start, arguments and all that stuff. You got to be able to say, it's a time and place for everything, and be able to adapt. And a lot of people struggle with that.
Yep. And you know where they end up at?
Where's that?
Penitentiaries and cemeteries.
Yeah.
Okay. So I tell this story all the time when I talk about a lack of emotional discipline. If you don't possess or adhere to your emotional discipline or establish, you're gonna deal with a man in uniform. You're gonna get pulled over one day. You might be having a bad day for a whole bunch of other reasons. And a man in uniform gonna step out of a police car, and he might write you a warning, he might write you a ticket. But your emotional discipline is going to determine how that engagement is going to go. If you decide to turn up, it's going to take a different direction. But for the sake of discussion, I'm going to say you just end up getting a handcuff slapped on you. Now you in the back of the police car. Now the man in uniform is driving you to the police station. Then the man in uniform takes you out the back seat, books you, you know what I'm saying, where he hands you off to a correctional officer who also is a man in uniform, most likely. They're going to hand you a uniform. You're going to go in a little room, change clothes, and you're going to put on a jumpsuit, which is a uniform for inmates. And you're going to change clothes. Now you got the uniform on of the general population. And guess what you're still going to have to listen to? Another man in uniform that's locked up too, because you still got to understand the local politics. Then a man in uniform that's a correctional officer is going to tell you when to lay down, when to wake up, when to go outside, when you can use the phone, and when you can eat. So a lack of emotional discipline will definitely bring you very, very close, in close proximity to other people that reflect your behavior. We have institutions that are based on behavior: Department of Correction, mental hospitals, juvenile detention centers, you name it. You know what I'm saying? There's something. Behavior is a huge investment in, you know what I'm saying, for our government. I don't know if you guys have heard of ACE. It's I think it's adverse childhood. I can't think of the E, but adverse childhood. There's trillions of dollars pumped into this. You know what I'm saying? Trillions to deal with foster care. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these different things that amount to poor sexual discipline and poor emotional discipline, because they're linked. And most of the people that fit everything that I'm talking about, because like even using a slice of the demographic of population that's locked up, right? Those people at an 80 to 90% rate, as far as men are concerned, come from single parent homes. They make TV shows off this stuff. You know what I'm saying? You ever seen Locked Up? Love After Lockup? If you watch they have a profile. All of these people are raised by women, been locked up, fatherless situations, and they are connected with a woman or man that's raised just to say the same as them, because you connect with people that you relate to based on the way that you was raised, morals, and similar backgrounds. So that's why I say the single parent population in the dating pool produces these types of outcomes. Yeah, that's it. Adverse childhood experience, potential traumatic events that can occur during a child's life from infancy to 17. And most people that fit, they have behaviors and outcomes in their present adulthood, they can reflect on that and see
it. Good stuff. And it's so true. And even not even thinking about on the as far as the work perspective, when you have people that been at a job for a while and they maintain, but then you get a new supervisor or something that challenges and pushes that individual, and you've been somewhere for a while, and then you just explode, and you know pretty much you don't give a damn, you don't give a fuck. This
Been
is
doing
what
this shit.
yeah, and not
Yeah.
thinking like, how is this going to impact me down the road? Like when I apply for another job, unless you got some type of connection, uh, where are you going to go? Like people are going to ask, so you were working here, what happened with this job and stuff? But I don't think people don't think about those situations and how it's going to impact them, impact their family, impact their children. They just just lose it, and that's like you said, that emotional discipline to say, I'm not going to let nobody, take away my livelihood.
Nobody deserves to be treated better than their behavior.
Yeah, now let me jump in here and let me try and redirect this for a moment. Women, let's go back to the question that David asked. Women that choose to be single and they entertain a man for whatever reason, be it like you said, Victor, just sex or friends of benefit situations, ultimately the crossroads of sex. How do you think that impacts what she does in terms of negative or positive or just no net gain?
I think it depends on where she is in her individual life. There's some women that if they're fit, they got different outcomes and different options. You know what I'm saying? If they are unfit, they got less of the same thing, So I think everything boils down to what does their mindset afford them? Are they a sexually disciplined thinker or sexually undisciplined thinker? Are they emotionally disciplined or are they not? Because people can only have the relationships that their behavior can afford. It can only attract, what reflects their behavior. So their lack of options says on one side, if they have a lack of options, that means that most of the men in their demographic don't think the way that they think, period. No matter what. If they have a lot of options, then they're probably side chicks with grandkids.
Now there was something that and in researching this show, that was something I never considered. Even though I saw it, it was never something I considered. And unfortunately for a lot of women that's gonna hear this, a lot of women they are side chicks, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yep.
If you're not in a consistent relationship, you're not married, and you're having sex outside of a committed monogamous relationship, you're a side chick. Now, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a role. So yes, you can claim you're single, but as Victor's saying, your behaviors are saying otherwise. You're in the relationship, it's just not committed.
Outcomes matter. That's it. Outcomes matter. And you can only get the outcomes that reflect your behavior, that reflect your thinking, and they reflect what options you have. You know what I'm saying? Like your options are relative to how you think.
Yeah, and we often talk about options, and which kind of lead to, power and autonomy. Like you can move a certain way when you have options. And I often talk about like certain people think they have options, but they really don't have that many options, or their options are probably, similar. Like, okay, you left this to go to get with that, but it's not an upgrade. It's still the same type of situation. Unless you can maneuver and get better quality, then you pretty much don't really have options. It's kind of like stagnated.
Well, you at your bracket.
Yeah,
until you willing to like change your, like some people, no matter what location they change, they're going to end up in the same situation because they're only attracted, their attraction template is set when they're kids. This is why like I mentioned earlier, like the single parent structure. So that there's this mythological belief that characteristics define character. They won't, like, nobody will say it, but that looks like the man or the woman that fits what I said I wanted, right? But then the behavior is something else. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of men and women that have procreated with one another and they blame the other person, right? And then when you ask them like, hey, why do you think you're a single parent, right? And then they just like, I hadn't found the right one. But then you ask them like, was your mom or your dad the right one? Like, what are you supposed to learn about long-term, you know what I'm saying, relationships and healthy marriage if you're a child of two unmarried parents that never lived with one another? So nobody's looking at that particular factor, you know, because the like I'm 45 years old, man, and as a child, we've been conditioned based on our own upbringings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you leave the house and you function as an adult, you try what your mom and your dad taught you in the world, if you got them, whatever your parent structure was, and it either works or it doesn't. It's hit or miss. So you can tell by the decisions that a lot of people make that their parents were not covered or not resourced, not intellectually sound. Because I saw a post the other day that said this woman says that her mother taught her to make a baby with the man that turns you on and marry a man that, you know what I'm saying, that'll be a good husband. What type of failing strategy is that? That is a single mother thinking strategy. That's nothing else. And that tells you how her mama was functioning and her mama. See, single mothers that are, you know, are women that had children out of wedlock, never been married. I'm not talking about like, the ladies that are divorced, stop calling yourselves single mothers if you've been married.
Yes.
Stop doing that. Okay. I'm talking about a specific behavior because it comes from a specific thinking in a certain type of household. I'm talking about all of you that fit what I'm saying, that come from a household of nothing but women and no men. Okay. Those women are not going to have the same respect palette for men because they're not raised with them. It'll be like if let's just say one of you gentlemen, I need you guys to watch my pet. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you like, cool. You might be familiar. You might be expecting a dog or a cat, right? Then I ring the doorbell because you already said yeah, and I drop off a big ass seal. You're gonna be like, what the hell you want me to do with this, right? Hey, I thought you said you had a pet. Yeah, it is a pet. It's a seal. I ain't got no experience with a seal. So like model that analogy next to what I just said. How likely are women in a household full of women, how likely are they to have manufactured respect for a man if they don't have any men in the family? So if you're a man that's been raised with his dad and his mom, and he's seen his mom and his dad married, and he's end up getting some kind of attraction to this one girl that come from a long line of single mothers, aunties, and a whole bunch of women with kids that ain't never been married. What do you think that experience is like? Okay, you guys are older. What if you guys got a son that's attracted to that type of woman? You're already gonna see the red flags 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But see, nobody thinks that we see these things. It matters.
To follow up what Victor was saying, and I'm a product of very close to what he's speaking about. Granted, I grew up in foster homes where I've seen functional married couples, but I've always said that if I produce a child out of wedlock, because that's what I was born into, that I won't date until that child becomes of age enough to function outside of my care and my oversight. Now, I said that because I was aware of the children that my mother produced. My mother produced 11 children, never was married. We all have different fathers. So to what Victor's saying, he's absolutely correct. And that goes across genders. You often hear this levied, especially in Black America, you often hear this levied at Black men. And I understand why. Because according to white America, which is under the doctrine we've been raised under, we're supposed to be the primary decision makers. There's only one problem with that. In Black America, men have never been allowed to be the primary decision makers. That was always deferred to the woman. And you can say what you want to. History reinforces that. History teaches that. History has shown us that. So when you get out into the when younger people get out into the world, and this is something David and I talked about last year, and who taught you how to vet for a mate? If there is no man there, then most men are looking through the eyes of a female and vetting another female. There's only one problem with that. You're not vetting for the right thing for you as a man. So even if a woman is single, who's to say her being single is because she's actually waiting for the man that is going to direct her in a manner that she wants? Because if the direction she got in her primary upload was just like Ashley said, can you highlight Ashley's comment for me, David? I'll read it. It says, yup, I was told from my single mother aunt to choose a man that loves me more than I love him. Simply put, get a simp man with no backbone. In the manosphere, shout out to Rollo Tomasi, he calls this alpha fucks, beta bucks. This is, shout out to BGS as well. This is something that he's spoken about at length, where women will find that man that they imprint on first, have his kid, and she'll go find a man that can support them. And in Black America, that's the family. Men have never been incorporated into that. So you have a lot of these people that are walking around, a lot of women anyway, because this is what we're talking about, that'll say they're single by choice, but they have 2 or 3 kids. When did you really become single? It's like Victor said, what are your options? You have 2 kids. So who checking for you? And I understand that now you've made the mistakes that you've made. You don't want to make any more mistakes. So you're looking for somebody who's going to help you with the situation that you have. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a situation that you have. It's like Victor said, you're a product of your decisions. And we all are. We're not here to bang on anybody. We're just here to open some eyes and some ears and say, hey, look, if you want different, you have to do different. You can't continue to make the same decisions you were making when you were 19, 20, when you're in your late 20s, early to mid 30s, because you still gonna get the same outcomes. It don't, as the old adage, no matter where you go, there you are.
All right. So, I mean, we can keep going on with the, the single aspect. There was, a couple other components, or we could, there's other things besides the independence. Some people may say, that they remain, if they're single, that they focus on their personal growth. It's a time that they want to get things done and go back to the lab and try to rebrand themselves, and they not in any relationships. So what's your thought on that?
I think that's stuff that you should be doing anyway. So it sounds good. it briefs well. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a married man. I'm still working on myself. So like, what you gonna do? Go in the locker room and come back out? And after the 4th quarter, you gonna go in at halftime? I don't know. I can't.
We know some people, they once they think they reach the pinnacle of success and they get married, they might lose that drive, or may lose that focus or desire to keep elevating every year or whatever time frame you want to use.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. And you said something very profound. They've reached the pinnacle of their success. Now, I'm not married, never been married. I have no kids. I just turned 53 in December. The one thing that I never, ever want to stop doing is growing as a person. And I think a lot of people, when they get married, like you said, David, they think they've reached the pinnacle of their success. That should be the basement and the foundation for that individual to get to a new level. That's just my perspective on it. Because what that allows you to do is that allows you to branch out, and it allows you to build another community. It's like a house. You start with a house of basic foundation. Get your first floor. You build your second floor. And if you want to keep going up and up and up, that's the limit. Add a room here, add a room here. You get this room here, you get this room here. This room is for this. A lot of people will stop evolving. They will stop trying to learn things. They will stop trying to get new friends, develop new hobbies, learn this, learn that. It was just like we were saying in COVID. This is why you saw so many people fall out in COVID, because they had no outlets, whether it was creative or familial. They had nobody to reach out to. So you're sitting here with this individual who you spent 6-7 hours a day with. You come home, work, y'all eat, raise kids, watch laundry, you might watch some sports shows, talk television, you might talk on the phone, and after that, you go to bed. There's nothing else to do. And so now because of boredom, because you guys don't sit there and talk about anything, there's no discussion, there's no growth, you become stagnant. And boredom is the enemy of anyone. I don't care who you are. If you're bored in your relationship, you're going to either stray or find a reason to get out and do something. And usually it's counterproductive, male or female. And that becomes the problem.
Go ahead, Vic.
Bring me back to the question again.
What was the question? I said, well, I was talking about as far as people using the opportunity to say they're single and
Okay.
they're using their time to focus on themselves, like self-discovery.
Okay. Remember earlier when the conversation began and we were talking about the group of women that are kind of like left out to the side? Those women fail to work on themselves. And they don't establish a community. They get more bored and they're more dangerous to themselves. That's why you end up seeing a woman that's 48 years old that I have a kid in college and a 2-year-old. So, and not be married, just start all over. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of women are really dependent on their kids. And it's a sign of a lack of purpose. But if you end up in that situation, you're really denying the fact that you really want to be covered by a man in that situation. If you believe your purpose is to make children, you know what I'm saying? And it gets a little bit more dicey just depending on the child itself as well. So the professional development you have to do your own work to really believe that your purpose is something that worth waking up to every day, not a manufactured purpose. You know, I'm talking about something that comes from higher than you, that you have to align with. So you have to self-improve in order to have access to the best version of yourself. You have to do the work, literally do the work. Find something that you lock in. I don't care what it is. If it's, I believe mentorship is like the greatest privilege. It's a privilege to be able to teach people when you have information. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know a lot of stuff, but not everybody can teach. Okay. So if you're not training other people, you're further away from your purpose. Because like, what are you doing if you're in your 40s and nobody can learn anything from you?
That's true. And one of the things me and Herb always talk about this, I was like, there's no room to be 40 and 50 to talk about you're bored. There's no way. It's not enough time for me. I'd be like, damn, it's like, I always say to myself, damn, I need a little more time. Like time goes by fast. It's a lot of stuff that you want to accomplish. And I'm like, what type of timeline are you on? You're 47 years old. You're talking about you're bored. You got to go outside. You got to hang out. You got to be at the bars. You got to be at that scene. And I think Ashley said a key thing, like women that are bored are more dangerous.
Yeah, Ashley dropped some gems, boy. I don't know who she is, but
man could be pretty consistent and be pretty simple, whether they just, work, if they hang out with some guys, go bowling, or watch in their man cave, watching sports and, look, reading. But women, I don't know, that hanging out and being, just acting like you 25 ain't a good look.
Let me, you guys okay with if I read something out of my book real quick?
Absolutely.
All right. So this is Accountable Masculinity, available on Amazon. You see the link in the chat. Accountable masculinity rule number 1 is men focus on men. establish personal accountability standards amongst reasonable men who intend to improve our society, create solutions for the benefit of our society by only discussing tangible outcomes based on our skills and networks. Put it plainly, you got, as a man, you're not afforded the opportunity not to have a skill. You're going to jail or you're going to the penitentiary, okay? And nobody picks up the phone and calls useless men.
No, they don't.
And if you're not useful, then you're useless as a man. Period, point blank. Whatever the feminine equivalent of that is, I don't know. But women have a luxury to be bored and find themselves and work on themselves. Men have to have a purpose early on as boys, or they get lost in the sauce very quickly. And then the next thing you know, you got drill rap. That's the next step.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to be useful. And I think women struggle with that in their 40s because their kids are grown. So where they had the most utility and purpose and usefulness is with their kids, by and large, because most women are mothers, whether they're married or not. So most men, 54% of men are childless and single. 30-some% of men are married. So 85% of men are off the board. Okay. Then you got the single father population is 15%. So 15% of men are responsible for making 80% of the children that's born out of wedlock. Single fathers and single mothers make each other. Okay. And because they're raised by the same parent structure, a matriarchal structure. There's a matriarchal split in the Black community. 54% of homes are ran by single mothers, and the 46% is ran by men. So if you got also in that number, in that 80%, 75% of women are unmarried with children. 59% of that same group of women have their children with the same. Two of them have babies by more than one man.
Yep.
Okay. So that says to me, sex is a pastime for a large group of people that come from the matriarchal situation.
Ooh, you heard them. You can step on some toes.
Hey, facts ain't feelings. It ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Facts ain't feelings, man. Go tell that to your savior.
Yeah, ladies, where were y'all at when we used to have 5 or 6 of y'all on the panel?
They don't want no smoke.
Man, listen,
Typically
listen. You got to go back and check some of my old photos with, and this is the thing. When I said, because we would be accused of being misogynist, anti-single mother, I said, look, if you ladies truly and honestly want to address the issues that are going on in Black America in terms of the children, give the children to their fathers. I was met with a chorus of boos and no's and every other reason not to do it.
That's the whole single mother population is mad at you.
Oh,
look, if you take single parents out the dating pool and watch how quiet the water get. Who's in the dating pool if you take single parents out the dating pool?
shit. I don't think anyone actually. Very, very few people anyway.
If all the single parents chose to be single by choice, all of this stuff goes away.
Woo! Yeesh. Woo. God damn. Yeah.
I know how to look. Let me tell you something about me, man. I know how to end the gender war. I do. And all it takes is people making a different decision. You go from undisciplined thinking to disciplined thinking. Just simple. And you know what disciplined thinking is. I don't even need to tell you what it is, but I'll tell you. It's maintaining emotional discipline, which is other words like patience. And then praying, anything that gives you pause before you make that final decision on something. That's emotional discipline. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, it came from me being in the Army for almost 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked as an intelligence contractor in Afghanistan for 4 years. My background is military intelligence and psyops.
Uh-oh.
I was a platform instructor where I taught soldiers how to use intelligence warfighting systems for 3 years. I know what I'm talking about. Everybody's responsible for their own individual behavior. The minute that people take control of themselves, the way they express themselves, and correct their behavior before they correct their children, all of this stuff goes away.
But and that's the thing. How do we get them there? Me being an educator for over 30 years, working at every level, college, high school, middle school, elementary, and oftentimes you see parents come in and then you say, well, damn, I know why this kid acts this way. But also you say to yourself, are we fooling ourselves? Because we can be giving this kid a message for 6.5 hours in school, but they still going home to that parent. So I often say the only way this ever works,
you gotta get the parents involved.
Parents to come and bring them involved. And I'm not talking about honor roll, events, whatever, honor society and different little parent conferences. This has to be like an ongoing thing, like some type of evening after school, like workshops, having conversations, but nobody wants to do that. And then y'all take the element after COVID, like, oh, we're not going to feed nobody. Then you know they're not coming up in the school.
Yeah.
You know they're not coming in there. So these is all the things that's supposed to happen. And you say, we don't got a fighting freaking chance. And I remember BGS always said, they say, it's over with. It's over.
Yep.
Like as far as the dynamics and that's so sad that it has come to this, that it really like, damn,
I got an example. Whenever you're ready to pull it up on the screen, I'll show you some.
Well, you got it right now.
Let me show you something. You guys familiar with Jason Wilson?
Jason Wilson.
He's the instructor. I can't remember what he's an instructor of.
Yeah, martial arts. Like, watch this.
Robotic engineer.
That's too easy?
No, sir.
It's not. Hey, come on. Come on, get it. Come on, get what you want. Come on, you gotta get it. Come on, you hurt? You hurt?
Yes.
Where? You're nervous. That's good. And it's so jacked up for men and boys that we can't even be emotional. Grab it again. Say you're nervous. Loud, yell.
Nervous.
Keep saying it.
Nervous.
Good, don't let go. Get back up. Say it.
I'm nervous.
Say it again.
I'm nervous.
Can you say that?
Yes, sir.
Understand?
This is amazing.
This man does the work to get these kids to control their emotions. You know what I'm saying? He got their parents in there with him. You know, they're watching, you know, they're learning too. Just the same way children learn from their parents, the parents still learn. This is why grandparents are important. This is why nuclear families are important. See, I came from I'm the oldest son on both sides of my family. And my dad's side of the family was a 2-parent household. And on my mom's side of the family, they were raised in a single-parent household with 2 different fathers with 5 kids. But all of the children got married with the exception of one. And because their mother valued marriage and respected men, you know, regardless of how it worked out or whatever. And then on my dad's side of the family, they had 10 siblings and every last one of them got married with the exception of like 1 or 2. And everybody had children. And then it's grandparents on both sides of the family because the parents still need to be mentored by their parents when they're dealing with children.
Yeah.
So if you got a single parent household, where are you getting mentorship as a parent? So as far as like fixing it, coach, hire me, book me, and I'll come talk to the kids. I want to talk to the staff.
Yeah. And I think that's a bigger issue too, that they need to be addressed as well.
Gotta book the staff. I gotta know who really teaching what, because they bringing their traumas to school too.
Yeah.
Because their kids might be bad as hell.
Yeah.
If they got them.
Yeah.
Because like, what type of time do faculty in the education system? If you're a faculty worker in the education system and you at school all day, what type of time are you giving to your kids?
And you know what? Let me jump in here for a hot second, Victor. That was something that was levied against me when I ran for the school board here in Niagara Falls, New York.
Mhm.
When it was found out that I didn't have any kids, the first thing a lot of people was asking, well, why do I care about the school district, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I said, simple. I said, one, because I pay taxes. And I said, two, because I have nieces and nephews who are going through the school district.
Yep.
I said, so it will behoove me as not only a taxpaying citizen, but as a person who has family going through the system to understand what's going on in the system and who's teaching and what these kids are learning. Now, the funny thing was this. I would come into the school, nothing extraordinary in terms of my dress, just a pair of slacks, nice shoes, button-down shirt, cufflinks, tie. Standard fare for what I would consider a member of the faculty. And I would walk into the classrooms, and the stares that I got, not from the staff, but from the students, and more importantly, the Black students.
They
Why?
never seen a Black educator.
Bingo.
Yep. They
And
never,
Go ahead.
they never seen a Black male educator. I asked that question before. How long? What grade were you in when you saw your first Black male teacher?
Eighth, ninth grade. Shout out to Mr. Brundage.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, Mr. Brundage. Lasos junior high school at that particular time. And it is true what you say. The reaction I got was, it was just like the eyes got bigger. They would sit up and they would ask, who are you? And I would tell them, I am nobody. They said, no. You got to be somebody. You were here dressed like that. No, because honestly, because I really didn't have a title. I was there on a volunteer basis. Shout out to Miss, I always forget her name. Forgive me. Mrs. I can't remember her name right now. I always forget.
Too much pressure. You'll get it back.
Yeah. She through my older brother, she had asked him, does he know of any Black male mentors that would like to come into school? He said, oh, absolutely. I got the perfect person for you. Put me in contact with her, and I was there for almost 4 years. I would go there Tuesdays and Thursdays because that was the time when I had the most. And I was there. And I was telling, because the teachers were skeptical of me because I had ran for the school board, so they thought I was a plant. And she had to, maybe because of the G, she had to assure them that I was not a school board plant, that I was there as a mentor. And the funny thing about it is, Mrs. Klinger-Smith, bless that woman, bless her. She was kind enough to let me sit in on her class and actually stand up there and, I want to be careful how I say it. She's not teaching anymore, but she was kind enough to let me take over instruction, if you will, for about 10 minutes. Social studies, history. And she was going over, it was around the 18th century, just after the U.S. had won their independence from Britain. And they were talking about inventions and things of this nature. And the kids were just sitting there bored stiff. And I said, Mr. Klinger-Smith, can I step in for a minute? She's like, please do. And I asked the question, I said, how many of you guys think history is important? And very few raised their hands. I said, why? They said, we're not going to use any of this stuff. I said, really? I said, all right, fair enough. I said, just by the show of hands, I want you to raise your hand if you have one of these. And of course, virtually every hand shot up in the classroom. I said, I'm going to do something. I said, every Tuesday, I'm going to give you guys a trivia question. The person with the most correct answers at the end of the year will get a yearbook. Now, yearbooks really aren't that big of a thing, except the price. It was like $50, $60. I said, I'll pay for it out of my pocket. One with the most correct answers is going to win. And I had to get somebody, two people, one to collect the answers in case I wasn't there, and somebody else to collect in case that individual I was there. I said, the first question I'm going to ask is, how many inventions did it take for you to get that cell phone that you have in your hand? I said, understand something. Don't answer this out loud and don't share the information with your classmates because you're in competition with them. Now, what that does is it teaches them a couple things. One, it teaches them to do research. And I said, the other thing is you can't use anything that's electronic. They said, I said, you can't use a computer. Can't use any Google searches. They said, well, how are we supposed to find out that information? I said, up the street from you.
How about a library?
Bingo. I said, there's a library. I said, those of you who live downtown, there's the public library. All the information that you need is contained in those 2 buildings. The thing it taught them was how to disassociate from just having everything in front of them, that they're going to have to go do some work sometimes to go get the information. And 2, it puts them in a mode to be competitive, even with their peers, because we're moving into a global market where you're going to have to be competitive with people from Japan, India, China, all these other places that they don't know anything about. And at the end of that class, she was like, thank you. I just never would have thought of it like that. I said, I understand, we have and I don't necessarily consider myself to be an educator in that regard, but I understand I have a greater obligation, to these kids because it was given to me by people who were in the same position I was then. So it's just what Victor says, and as well as David. If you're in your 40s and 50s and you're not doing it, you waste of space. You have to find out how to contribute and how to contribute positive. Even if you're a mother who's had kids, what you can do is you can go into the schools. You see all these kids who might lack for something, basic hygiene. You got these young women who are entering into their young women phase who may not know anything about how to use feminine products. Pull them aside. Explain to them what their body's going through. Explain to them all this stuff that's happening to them. And you're going to get pushback. You're going to get pushback for all the mothers who claim this ain't your child. It ain't your child, but it's going to be your responsibility when they get into the world and start producing kids out of wedlock, and those kids grow up and they start to terrorize you when you become older.
Yeah, when you're trying to get in your car for leaving the grocery store and they run your pockets.
Right.
You walk right past them kids when they was at the playground.
Right. That's why it becomes your responsibility. Mm-hmm. That's why it's important to understand that even though your primary obligation is met in the terms of your kids, you still have a greater obligation to mankind. And this is something that David and I spoke about, and Victor's alluded to it. As a man, don't care what ethnicity, age, once you get to be adult, you have an obligation to humanity to make humanity safer. And as a woman, you have an obligation to continue to teach. And Victor mentioned something that we're going to get into probably later this year is grandparents and their age and how does that impact things. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on my soapbox.
No, that's what you're supposed to do.
And to kind of piggyback on that, I always say, like, the greatest thing is to provide service to others. Like, if you're not helping someone every day or doing something to, like you said, help out mankind, then you have to question your role. But boredom at 40, 50 shouldn't exist. Unless you're telling me that you're fulfilled, you've reached that pinnacle, like, oh, my bank account is all, everything is good. I have nothing to do around my house. Everything is all set up. I accomplished all my projects I wanted to. That should never come out a grown person's mouth. Kids get bored. And I guess for us, we, kids have it much easier, that we wasn't given that opportunity to be bored because we had to get up early. We got out.
Yeah, they have purpose.
Yeah, we had to be creative, and we milked that time to the end, to the point that parents would be like, "Oh, you need to be here, be around the house by the street lights because
because you're going all day."
We go. Yeah, we got a few dollars. We gone, and we got a bike that
we out of there
running. Yeah, we done. We all across town.
Yeah,
but these kids, they don't have that, so it often makes me think like these kids, like if you go to like different places and kids work, I said they don't know how to multitask because they don't have that opportunity. Like we had lists that when you came home, go to the store, you get this, make sure you clean this, and make sure you do this, help your brother, help your sister do this. We had lists of things to do, and these kids, they don't have it. So it's it's kind of scary. It's
Um,
kind of
I
scary.
like to read something out of the book again.
Go ahead.
All right. To wrap up everything we was talking about men being of service, right? So back in the book, Accountable Masculinity, available on Amazon. Accountable Masculinity rule number 4, legacy and equity. Be selfless. Live a life of service towards your community and others. You must be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. You must be receptive and coachable. Being able to instill knowledge and wisdom into others is an act of submission and a privilege.
And
Go
and
read
that's
the book.
applicable. And that's and to be honest, even though he's directing that towards men, it's vital.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, it's vital for women because more often than not, women are going to be the first instructors of kids when that man's not around. And being that we, as Victor just mentioned, that more often than not, these kids are going to be raised in homes absence of a masculine principle, it becomes vital for women to be able to instruct and to give wisdom in the absence of emotion. Because once you do that as a woman, you become centered because you can plug into that child emotionally in a way that a man can't. And you also will have the ability to withdraw that emotion and calm that kid down like the instructor did and redirect that aggression. This is why sports becomes a great outlet for young boys. And I saw something earlier and I have to go look for it. That it gave a breakdown and it said from 0 to 7 years of age, that is the mother or wife's domain.
Yep.
From 7 to 14, that is where the father is supposed to take over. And
Yep.
after that, the peer group, that child's peer group becomes the deciding factor in what that child will do. And if from 0 to 14, if you got that child grounded and knowledgeable in certain things, that child more than likely is going to be okay. And I said this years ago, a year or so ago, to a woman, and she got offended. I said, nobody is going to understand how well of a parent they become until the child becomes an adult and starts to reproduce children. I said, that's when you're going to find out what kind of child you raise.
Yeah. I mean, everybody seen Shaka Zulu?
It's been so long. Wow.
We remember when I know it's been a while, but I watch a lot of stuff and I study a lot of stuff. There was a scene on there where Shaka was the equivalent of a young PFC in the Zulu army, right?
Mhm.
And he challenged his superior in front of everybody. And then they exiled him. And he had to go into the wilderness as punishment. He went out there and, trained himself because they was fighting with longer spears and longer shields.
Mhm.
Well, he went out there and modernized his fighting equipment, shrunk his shield, shrunk the staff on his spear. He came back from exile, challenged the same general in a combat duel, and he killed him. And
Yeah.
he took over the army. Okay?
Yeah, I recall that part. Yeah.
So all of that is the growth and maturation in its most primal sense, that he knew he was supposed to be in the army. He knew that he was supposed to lead, and he was willing to do what it took to take over. And then after that, we know what he done, you know what I'm saying, as far as like how he was able to, conquer different tribes and unite the entire Zulu nation, and they also killed off the Brits that invaded them a couple times. You know what I'm saying? They were able to thwart a few different attacks. I studied this stuff a whole lot. I like conflict. So, but the point is
Yeah, because
that
you're in the military. They teach this doctrine in military training. Yeah, they do.
Mhm. So you CQB. And so if you're familiar with that close quarter battle, he was like the OG for close quarter battle, So where everybody else was like only losing like 3 or 4 people in conflict situations, they was running up on people, jugging them, saying, "Hey, we're not waiting on you to come to us. We're coming to get you. We want the smoke," And that was the difference. If you wait passively, somebody gonna dominate you.
True. So, all right, we that singleness, whatever, we think that was well informed, a lot of insightful information. So we're gonna transition into marriage.
Okay.
one of the things, companionship, being a support system. So many people, as we transition in 2025, and you think single, marriage, or divorce, what's your take on marriage? Like, because you often hear a lot of guys in the YouTube world and stuff like, oh, once they hit a certain, oh man, I'm done. I ain't getting married. I ain't doing this. Things don't work in our favor when we uh, do that. Now you're starting to hear women say, oh, they want to lean toward the single side, whatever. They're not about to do that. They're a slave if they're married. You have all types of things that's thrown out. What do y'all think? I know, Victor, you said you're married.
Yeah.
So you solid in that, but just
Yeah,
in general.
Go ahead, Victor.
Um,
You speak first.
I'm 45, man. I got a unique journey with marriage. I've been married 4 times, but
Oh.
I don't have any kids. So marriage for me is not the same. Like people used to have this old, like everything's changing in terms of like perception of marriage, just like you said. And back in the day, they'd say marriage is like they would shame you if your marriage failed, right? But I've been married in my 20s, my 30s, and twice in my 40s. But I don't have any children, so the union of marriage is not as there hasn't been a situation where it's been financially grievous for me to deal with because I owned a bunch of properties that were already in my name beforehand. So I've always had my leverage, you know what I'm saying, in that regard. Then I don't have any kids, so you can't hold that over my head either. So, and I'd rather have 3 divorces than 3 children by 3 different women in 3 different marriages. So that's just the math, I believe in marriage because I was raised by married parents. My mother and father were together for 42 years before my father passed. In fact, today is his birthday. You know what I'm saying? He passed away in 2018. But I appreciate his consistent presence, and like in present day, it refined the version of masculinity that I think is necessary. And I'm saying specifically masculinity, not just manhood, because all men ain't masculine. Okay.
Right.
All right. Um, so I have a different perspective because I get to see left and right. And again, like I mentioned, the households that I came from, they valued marriage too on both sides of my family. So marriage just makes sense. And a part of the reason I don't have children is because I haven't been in a relationship with a woman that has had the same type of support structure. You know what I'm saying? With grandparents, healthy, situations. So it doesn't inspire me, you know what I'm saying, to want children because I grew up having access to to 2 different sets of grandparents. Like when we out of school for the summer, we go stay over at granny house or we're going to go over to grandmama house, you know what I'm saying? And kick it with our first cousins over here or our first cousins over there. We had a community within our family, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think I got like 15 first cousins on one side of the family and then 8 on another.
Yeah,
was
that's
our
a
first
beautiful thing. It
Yeah.
really it is.
And both sides of my family were all on, in the same city, but on different sides of town. So on the north side, it was set up this way, and the south side, it was set up this way, but they all knew each other too. So it's close knit. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama too. So I think geography plays a lot in that as well. So people that come from big cities like New York, your Chicago's and your metropolis places, they don't have the same concept about marriage and family as people that probably grew up in the South. And that's in my personal opinion. So
no, I believe you're right. And the reason why I do is because of the nature of the system we grew up under in the South. That was security. So the more people you had, the more people you had looking out for you. So when you are, I'm going to use this term and I want to use it lightly. I don't want to offend anybody. So when you're in the belly of the beast, the more people you have at the ready, the better protected you are. Now, in terms of marriage, people know I'm not married and I don't have any kids. But I am a staunch proponent of marriage. because not only do I have older male siblings, obviously older brothers, because, well, actually, you know what? Let me correct myself. I have an older sister who's actually married. And her husband has been brought into the brotherhood, of her brothers. So 8 brothers strong. And we stand together shoulder to shoulder, regardless of the situation. And in that situation, I am blessed beyond measure. I never worry about anything. So I'm a staunch proponent of marriage. But what a lot of people have to understand is this: marriage is a tool. And it's a tool for rearing children. That's the ultimate reason for marriage. That and wealth building. Now, it just so happens that in Black America, we don't have a lot of wealth. And we don't necessarily look at wealth building the way other ethnicities do. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing. Well, let me not say it's not a bad thing. It's a terrible thing. Because it takes away our primary means to grow financially. So when you destroy the institution of marriage in the minds of people, you limit their ability to act as a force magnifier a force multiplier when it comes to marriage. Because if you take, let's look at it like this. Let's say you take 2 people, male and female, that are earning $35,000 gross. You put them 2 together, they now are a $70,000 income family. They can take themselves out of rundown communities and move to a place that affords them a better lifestyle. Not only does it afford them a better lifestyle, it gives their kids a leg up. So all the things that they had to worry about growing up, their kids don't have to. So they go to reasonably good schools. They can walk the streets in safety. They don't have to worry about all that stuff. And by the time that their kids get to be adults and they get to be grandparents if things go that way, their kids, just like Victor said, they know where grandparents are. Or go to your grandmother's house. She's got something for you. Really? Grandma and grandpa got something for me? Send the kids over there. The parents get a break. The parents get to go out of town. The parents get to enjoy their late 50s. The grandparents get to be grandparents. They get to disseminate some wisdom. All that stuff fosters. All that stuff grows. And it rebuilds.
Hold on.
But this is how you sustain communities. This is how you get homes in other communities that are 3 or 4 generations old.
So Herb,
yeah.
So I'm going to throw something in there. We talked about this before. So that all sound good in those communities until the big Section 8 kicks in, and that community get disrupted.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm glad you said that.
And it's a whole different ball game.
I'm gonna cook this one. Go ahead.
It can be. However, let's take a woman who comes into that community, into a rock solid community with 2 kids who are misbehaving. You take those men in that community, they go up to her house, they knock on the door. How do you think she's going to respond?
But is that happening, though? That's the thing. Is that happening?
Exactly. They say, hey, look, we understand you're new to the neighborhood. We understand you don't have any fathers for your kids. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to take them in. We're going to take them in. We're going to raise them up the way they need to be raised up. She really don't have too many. She doesn't have that kind of leverage to say no. Why? Because they're going to put pressure on her. Them kids are going to feel awkward. And guess what them kids aren't going to be able to do? They're not going to be able to run through the neighborhood like that. Because those people are going to get together with their local politicians. They're going to say, hey, look, we understand what y'all trying to do. And if y'all keep trying to do it, guess what we're going to do? We're going to vote your ass out of office. See, this is what people don't understand about how the political game transcends all that shit. So if you don't want Section 8 in your neighborhood, you start writing your politicians, you start writing your representatives and say, hey, look, we're not going to tolerate this shit. We came out here to make this a nice community, not to have this shit overrun by hood rats. And guess what's going to happen? That Section 8 shit is going to get moved quickly.
Yeah, I guess I missed the boat on that because that's what, like, my neighborhood, it was quiet, serene,
Yeah,
peaceful. Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, I made CNN and all that shit. A massive shooting, like literally, I don't know, a block away, and they weren't shooting with no with nothing small. It was like they had some artillery. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It like 10 people got shot, and you like,
Where you located at?
in Baltimore.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, Baltimore's already out hand, but that's what I'm saying. If you nip it in the bud, and you got to nip it in the bud, you can't let it go. And Victor will tell you, in the military, when something starts to creep up, they don't wait for it to become a problem. They get on that shit quick, fast, in a hurry.
Which is why everything y'all talking about is La La Land. It's a utopia. We've missed the boat. Okay, let me tell y'all what reality is. Let me wash y'all up real quick on this. Okay, Baltimore been fucked up since 1965 and even before that. And then traditionally, even before then, they used to breed slaves in South Baltimore, and sell them in the North. So those people are running around psychologically wounded. Okay, so when you take that into consideration, you're thinking about what I say is utopia. You think people that live in the hood care about politics?
No.
Okay, so and then all of that, do people in the hood own or rent?
They know they're renting.
Okay, so if they rent, they don't own anything, so they don't care. Okay,
Right.
The truth is nobody outside of them can do anything about it. They have to make a decision on that. They are in an undisciplined environment, and they make a choice to stay there. Okay, and if they're gonna make a choice to stay there, then they either change the environment from within. Like, you could be a product of your environment, but you could make your environment a product of you too. Okay.
Right.
That's simple as that. So that keeps us out of the conversation talking about what they need to do. We sound like white people when we talk about what people in the hood need to do. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. We ain't no different than it because it's an economic thing, right?
Yeah.
And most people in those communities are slaves to their emotions, which is the only slavery. Okay. If you're making emotional decisions, a lot of people die. And that's what's happening in all of the places that reflect the same behavior, no matter whatever the zip code is. Everybody knows where the dangerous side of town is, and they all want to leave the dangerous side of town to move where it's safest. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they have kids. As far as like you talking about going into, you know what I'm saying, a mentorship capacity with young boys that's being raised by women, who's going to do that? The same boys in the community that's raised by women that's been in and out, you know what I'm saying, locked up. If they're not, you know, like you ask, it's a tall order, you know what I'm saying?
It is.
Because they deal with the man in uniform on a regular basis too. So there's a different type of fear. There's a different type of situational awareness that people that live in those communities have. So it's not like the communities where we grew up at, where we appreciated where we lived. And even then, we still had some riffraff that was going to always make it hard. You know, when people talk about Pookies and Ray Rays, you know what I'm saying? They don't ever talk about who the real Pookie and Ray Ray is. It's the mamas that raise them. Because where they learn how to be Pookie and Ray Ray.
You know, it's funny you say that. That's something that BGS always talks about is, you know, when the hustle money came through, if you will, and by hustling I mean illegal activities, the women benefited, and as long as they could benefit, they kept them in the house.
There's no environment where women don't benefit from productive men.
Oh, well, yeah, one way or the other, yeah. Regardless if, yeah,
regardless, it doesn't matter. Women gravitate to comfort.
Yeah,
comfort is usually co-located with money and resource and status and some level of protection, whether it be adequate or inadequate. They're gonna go where they, where they feel the most protected from. And as Ashley just pointed out, gays and gangsters come from the same household.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like you don't see white trailer parks have the flamboyant gay dude and the gangster in a family picture out in front of their trailer. Show me a Mexican community that do that. Show me any other community outside the black community that do that. And all of these people be going to the same church.
Ooh-wee.
And so in the other part too, in the hood, where it like the church is always known as a staple in the community, right?
Yeah.
How come it ain't buying the land and the properties?
Yeah, David, you and I talked about, the black church and its dereliction, certainly nowadays, when it comes to the community. And if it's almost as the church is acting in reverse order. If the church
No, it's
ain't
acting like it is. No, it's just been revealed. Like, you got to think who's in church. It's women, and it's mostly retired whores that didn't get drafted from the club, so they end up in the pew.
He said retired whores. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then the pastors and most of the clergymen, they raised by women too. So they end up humping on the boys or being promiscuous with the women because most of the women are single mothers. It's the same community. It's the same behavior.
Definitely got to understand your clientele, what you're getting into, and I'm like, I don't know, people could be part of that. It's just a mess.
It's cooked. That's why I said all of this is utopia on the objective reality level, on the security environment level, and then on the spiritual level, on the educational level, and the overall health consciousness level. It's cooked.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is, if you're a married woman, you're almost in essence shielded from a lot of that.
That's the point. That's why marriage is supposed to protect you.
Right. Yep.
That's why I believe in it. You know how much less trash that you get involved in because you got to prioritize. If you're a man, you have to prioritize, differently. You have different concerns. You have different activities. You don't have a lot of single friends when you're a married man. You don't do a lot of single people activities when you're a married man. You just
don't have the time.
Man, you just don't. Like, how many times though you see married women have friendships with whores? Yeah. And they go on church trips humping each other. You know what I'm saying? They the only people to go out of town with each other, come back and not be friends.
I'm laughing at you, but also laughing at what Ashley said. It's like it's true. Like, yeah, what man would have listened to another man? And then the history of that man who like, Negro, you was just a recovering addict. Now you talking this shit. I ain't going to that church.
You a power bottom.
Like,
you was at the Diddy party.
Yeah.
Stop it. Get out of here.
Then people argue with you. Oh, so you don't believe in change? How are you a counselor? You work at a school. You don't believe that people could change? I ain't checking.
No, I don't believe that shit. Yeah. I believe in your behavior and your outcomes.
Like, it's funny. I got a friend he's in recovery close to 30 years, I think. And he said something to me that I had never forgotten. He said, when you get tired of being the same, then you will change. And most people don't until they're actually compelled to. And that doesn't happen for a lot of people ever. This is why you see a lot of people on Skid Row. They're homeless with no conceivable way in their head out. Is because they don't want to change. This prospect of change scares them because they're going to have to do something that they're unfamiliar with. And David, you say it all the time. In order for you to get comfortable, you have to get uncomfortable. And some people would rather be comfortable being homeless than comfortable working a job, having to meet certain expectations and demands of a world that they don't want to be in. And I'm not saying they want to remove themselves from existence. They just want things to be easy. And for some, being homeless is easier than having to go to work.
To get something you never had, you got to do something you never done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? You don't get to do it one time. You got to repeat it. That's why I talk so much about discipline.
Yeah.
You apply discipline to what you believe in and what you believe in yourself, and you go get some coaching and you go study your craft and watch somebody do what you're trying to do, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be better than everybody. Man, Kobe talked about this all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you, as a disciplined person, you're supposed to manage, audit, and edit your own behavior.
Mhm.
And you can't do that. You can't do none of what I just said without discipline. Sexual discipline and emotional discipline. Life is very, very simple conceptually. You know what I'm saying? In terms of what your individual responsibility is. It gets awkward when you can't determine when somebody is manipulating you. Now, a lot of people that come from manipulative households are out here being yes men and yes women and people pleasers. And then that enables them to point the finger, and it's always somebody else's fault.
Mhm.
Because you have always been controlled, but now you're operating on your own, and you failed in an uncovered environment, didn't even know it. But mentorship, discipline, and protection, coaching, therapy, that allows you to fail in a controlled environment and learn from your experience and take ownership of your circumstances. We're all victims of circumstance, but it's a choice to remain a victim of your circumstance. You got to take control of your own destiny and have something that's a vehicle to get you focused about what's important for you every day. Like for me, as a combat veteran, I've been to Iraq 4 times, and I lived and worked in Afghanistan for 4 years. I either saw something shot up, blown up, heard it, seen plenty of bodies, you know what I'm saying, had a really sensitive skill set that put me in proximity with triggers getting pulled on people and bombs getting dropped on people. So you make a decision every day where somebody was going to lose their life, you know what I'm saying? And so like to heal yourself, because nobody else owns my situation, you know what I'm saying? So I took my skills in terms of writing and I wrote myself into where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? I cared about writing a long time ago. And it all goes back to when I was a kid and my mom said it's too hot to go outside or too cold to be outside or something like that. And I said, I'm bored. She said, go read a book, go get that encyclopedia and study that. You know what I'm saying? And those habits, and that discipline, that repetition is what I like, because I appreciated having that structure. Then I started studying mythology, other religions, and all the stuff I was just naturally curious about. And it's brought me to where I can really think about what's happening in front of me and decide how much I care about it and how important it is. And that takes discipline to recognize that. Some people don't have that.
Yeah.
Vic, you're speaking a lot of stuff that we talked about, and you just touched on a couple points. When we just heard, I don't know, about a couple months ago, we talked about the power of encyclopedias. I wasn't fortunate to have any, but my grandparents who live right next door had encyclopedias. So when we had book reports back in the days, it was like I was in heaven that I could just go through there, lay on the floor, write down my stuff, and get my report done. But not everybody had encyclopedias. And then what was the other point you had mentioned? I hate when that happens.
Activity, discipline, and repetition.
Oh, repetition. I always talk about that. I always talk about the art of teaching, whatever. From John Wooden, talked about demonstration, imitation, correction, and repetition. That's how you teach. And I'm like, I don't understand like what's going on now, but I could think about one math class that I had that teacher, well, he was like, and Herb, you're probably familiar with him, Mr. Rizzo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So had him for math, and that was his thing. We couldn't move on to the next assignment. We had to have a certain level. Like if we had to have 3 or less wrong to move on to the next level. So we constantly he was teaching repetition, demonstrating how to do it. And one of the things that worked for me is teaming up with one of my buddies, whatever, like, hey, screw football right now. Let's tackle this homework, this math. It knock this out and work together. And we had their fine. But I think that's, important concept. And I always tell my students now, do y'all ever get on the phone with one of y'all friends and say, listen, you struggling. Let's meet up. Let's talk. Let's have a group chat. Let's do Zoom or with all the features y'all have and work together and build each other up. Nah, y'all don't do that shit. Y'all just like drama. Y'all just like drama. And I was like, y'all got so many tools right there to help that y'all didn't do. And I said, and that's one of the things that I always tried to do. Like, listen, if you're struggling and I know how to do it, I'm gonna help you. And if I'm struggling with something, I hope somebody will help me. And we got by it with we as bad as hell, did a lot of stuff, but we also understood collaboration more now than these young people do.
Yeah, I think eventually standardized education is going to be on YouTube with some kind of subscription, no different than subscribing to somebody's YouTube channel. And you're going to get, because like you can find any math problem, break down any equation, and there's a video for it. So just like not just Chat GPT, but AI is eliminating lawyers. It's been working on this stuff for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I heard something regarding that.
Yeah, Vice. You guys are familiar with Vice News?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Vice News. It used to be on HBO. I don't know if it's still on HBO, if it's got its own thing. But in 2018, I remember they was doing they had like a competition between an actual lawyer and the machine, and it had to audit an affidavit and a couple of other legal papers, right? The lawyer lost, needless to say. You just can't outwork that machine. You know what I'm saying? And the machine found more errors that was already built into the document than the lawyer did.
Yeah.
So, and this was in 2018. So that's when they were beta testing and actually displaying a completed product. You know what I'm saying? Back then, it's over with. If they're editing the lawyers, do you understand how you see what I mean? Like you just turn your head because you already know what the impact of it is, because that's how businesses operate through legal. You know what I'm saying? When you got a good product, let's say all three of us got a good product, we decide we're gonna work together or whatever. First thing we say, we gotta get an attorney involved.
Correct.
You see, so like we
what
can't
legal
even
say,
if you want to do, like, let's say if I wanted to get licensing, hey, by the way, if you watch and you see my merch, you want to do some licensing, holla at me. You know what I'm saying? We do a licensing deal that's gonna require, you know what I'm saying, a legal paperwork that go with it. When you hear legal, you hear lawyer, you know, and then after a while, machines gonna be writing all this stuff. Hell, you can go do your own LLC on multiple websites. So that's got somebody legal behind that somewhere, you know what I'm saying, with some automation. So I don't see how standardized education with the level of violence in school and the under-resourced teachers, I don't see how it's going to survive AI and YouTube or some sort of video automation where kids can sit down like we're talking right now at distance. We've already tried it, you know what I'm saying, with COVID and everything before. You know, there's going to be less human contact. And it's just going to be, I think it's setting up to produce more workers overall. You know what I'm saying? Get the standardized education out the way, hurry up and graduate school and get into the workforce.
Yeah. And that's, not to derail the topic on the discussion, but that was why immigration was as big a thing as it was. And people that aren't aware to what you just said, Victor, are catching that.
Yeah.
So the way you can slow that down is by getting rid of that people that where they're forced to employ people who are here legally and domestically. And
we just, not to cut you off. I just had at a workshop at the school, and they was talking about like English second language learners. They might call it different multi-language learners, and they were saying that before they would have like schools or centers just for them, and they would, well, not so much, but they would have like a wing of the school, and now they moved them to their zone school where these kids come in and they can walk in my office and they might be with somebody and they're like, oh, Mr. Glover, he don't speak English.
Yep.
Okay. And then I was like, so y'all really think I'm supposed to stop every interaction. Like, hold on, let me call up the language line and see what's going on. Like this shit, it's crazy. And then I'm like, so they brought over here really not to educate them to go to college. It's just they need programs to be in the workforce because it's not you're not coming and you're 12, 13 years old and the thought is okay, they want to educate them. So it's crazy. I can't wait till I get out of the system. I can be able to say everything. yeah. I can't. It's crazy. It's crazy, but
Man,
I don't know.
I always say this too, man. I say low-level learners reproduce with low-level learners and make more low-level learners.
Yeah. And that's probably a topic we're gonna get into because BGS covered that, the miseducation of Gen Z, and what a lot of people, man, it's the next decade is gonna prove very turbulent for a whole lot of people. And it's safe to say that those who aren't covered, unfortunately for a lot of women, government cuts is going to hit them very hard because like Victor's saying, AI is coming for the jobs that they currently have. I know my particular field might be in the crosshairs, which is hospitality. But me personally, at my age, I don't necessarily concern myself about that long term because I can always transition into other things. Like I'm actually going to pick up writing, and though writing doesn't pay a great deal, I still can do other things. But women tend not to have those skill sets, especially women who happen to be single mothers or unwed mothers. Women who are divorced, who don't have a tech skill. And I'm not talking about those who have a degree, because the degree at this particular point, because the number of degrees out there has almost become the value. Most of the people who have degrees aren't even working in their field of study. They're working in another job capacity all together. So those women who aren't covered, and when I say covered, I'm talking about in a marriage where your man is earning. That way, if you lose employment, you don't have to worry. Those are the people that are in the crosshairs. This is going to be more women than it is men, because men can always be used as manual laborers. Even though 3D printing is coming in, you're still going to need men that can actually do manual labor. You're still going to need some resemblance of.
I don't agree with the manual labor part. They got robots, bro. They got so many machines and stuff that can, like, you ever see the video of the automated docks and they're just moving containers and there's nobody walking around? Like, if they can move mass material like that now, the technology is only going to improve. It's not going to get worse. And I'll say this: people that do not have the ability to monetize their intellectual property are going to be going to have the hardest time going forward.
Yeah,
because I believe that we're in the middle of a stalemate intellectually, and it's reflecting. It started with the economics, in my opinion. Economics also, just to keep driving back the point of between marriage, divorce, and staying single, right? All of this right here is impacted by economics. Inflation changes the way you see relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
The first budget cut is side chicks. They out of there. You know what I'm saying? Can't afford them no more. Then all of a sudden, everybody's figuring out how much benefit is in marriage, how much benefit is in staying single. And it depends on your economic status. A lot of people that are a lot on the women's side, most of them out here looking for a stepdaddy. You know what I'm saying? I'm the internet stepdaddy, by the way. You can book me. You got to pay. Stepdaddies need to get paid. Let me say that. Y'all pay for child care. Y'all pay for everything for them kids. Send them to football practice. And then now you just want to recruit somebody to come in and be a sponsor. Y'all need to put a deposit down for a stepdaddy. I'm saying that. Economics hurt them too. Hurt the men too. That hey, there's some men that'll get out there and raise your kids, but you got to put down a deposit, baby. You know what I'm saying? So economics impacts all of this stuff too. No, we haven't brought that up. I think it's been mentioned because people be talking about, like, think about why 50-50 conversations are such a big topic, because it's about economics.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, relationship. Like when you're talking about the characteristics and the character of a relationship, do you hear more about sex and love, or do you hear more about 50-50 and stepchildren?
Mhm.
And the fact that you have to choose means that money is part of all of that.
Right.
So now you start talking about everything has a fiscal flavor to it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the emotional budget. I don't have the financial budget. I don't have the intellectual budget. You know what I'm saying? To be, I don't have those resources to be in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I think that economically speaking, people have to make the decision that they can afford. And they're being honest about that.
Yeah.
Because the only people that's complaining is the people that can't get what they want. That's where
Right.
complaints come from.
Yeah.
People that
Yeah.
can get what they want don't have a reason.
It's true.
He said I was red pilled in the womb.
And the funny thing about Jedi's statement is this. And people, for whatever reason, they want to badmouth the red pill. And I always tell people, and I ask people this who speak ill of the red pill, what red pill content creators are you following? And this ties into what we're talking about.
I got something to say about this too.
And the first thing they will say is Kevin Samuels. And I always correct them. I say Kevin Samuels didn't care about the red pill, because red pill men don't push marriage. And that was the first thing that Kevin always talked about, was marriage. He was a proponent of the black family. And before Kevin started doing that, guess what Kevin was doing? He was doing fashion advice. He was doing things in terms of image, because that's what his bread and butter was. It was image consulting. So I was trying to get people, when you talk about the red pill, what aspect of it are you actually talking about? Are you talking about getting married, staying married, building wealth, any of those things? Then you're not necessarily talking about the red pill. You're talking about a segment, a very small segment of what comprises the overall red pill. And for people who aren't quite sure what the red pill means, because I know you're probably hearing it here and there intermittently. Give me a second, Victor. I'll get off of this. The red pill simply is this: is understanding what drives female mate selection. Period. That's it.
All right. Let me say what I got to say about the red pill, man.
Yeah.
I created my own brand because I don't know. I don't box myself into other people's definitions. I know too much. I got enough experience to understand what works for me. I operate on 5 rules. And so to go back to like where you brought up Kevin Samuels was a man that was raised by a single mother. So really he's the product of the women that raised the same type of man. He's actually the ghost that they conjured. Okay. Kevin Samuels was ideal for men that were raised without men in their house. Because if they didn't grow up seeing guidance from a father who was also a husband underneath the same roof, a lot of that content that he was putting out sounds like gold to them. But yeah, exactly. Like they grew up seeing their mamas naked. You know what I'm saying? If you raised by your mama, you probably seen your mama naked. You know what I'm saying? Those men, when they found Kevin Samuels, it was like, ooh, I knew I wasn't crazy, but I wasn't raised like that. And it's a bunch of my friends that was married, that grew up seeing their parents married. It was entertainment for us. You know what I'm saying? So I am not red pill.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that out loud. You know, my brand and my concept and my doctrine is bigger than red pill. Red pill, if you look at the makeup of the behavior, see, I've studied all of this stuff. The red pill men are usually raised without men. They're usually raised by women. Yeah, so there's a whole demographic of men that I can't relate to.
Mhm.
Just like if you think about the red pill community compared to it, the polar opposite, the feminine equivalent of the red pill is the feminist movement in a completely different direction. They single mothers raised by women, single fathers raised by men, a red pill, and then the feminist movement is the same thing. These people have sex with each other and don't like each other and make children with each other. The men that are established, masculine, leading their homes, got women that respect them, support their mission, they don't care about any of this stuff because they don't have to, because it's already built into what they're doing every day.
Yeah.
See, you got to break down who's part of what, because eventually what happens is things start getting radicalized. That's where these incels and femcells come from. You know what I'm saying? Like, take the terror attack down in New Orleans, right? The guy's Samjin, whatever his last name is, lost his mind. He was an army vet, ran over all those people with the truck. He was a real estate agent. His I think his ex-wife allegedly had some police report from abuse on him. He lost a whole bunch of money. He was financially confined. He had problems with his marriage, and then he crashed out, like literally. You know what I'm saying? The terror attack part of it is true, but the psychological makeup behind why he acted the way he acted came from how he was managing his relationship. Relationships have a significant impact on how men move, right? So most of the time when I look at what's the baseline fusion points in the behavior of men in the red pill that swear by it, live by it ideologically, right? And when you look at it, it's men that are wounded by their mothers, trauma bonding over failed relationships, and are aligned with almost like an extremist ideology that is very, very inspirational to people that are emotionally vulnerable. You have to be emotionally vulnerable in such a way where you can be inspired by another man's takes or his opinions and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's not helpful. I'm talking about how younger kids in school are being radicalized by the likes of the Andrew Tates and anybody else that's in that space. And it's educational just to set boundaries. But how do you graduate from the red pill? Anybody here been to therapy? Don't you have to graduate from therapy at some point?
Well, let me stop you right there. What people need to understand, and this is why I said there's different segments. What people need to understand about the red pill community is this: there are men in the red pill community who are married and in functional marriages. What they're doing is they're putting information out there for men who are unknowingly or undecided about how they want to progress in terms of potentially getting married and having kids, and how to navigate the system when it comes to dealing with women. That's why I said it's about how women choose their mates. So you got a lot of men that want to create families, but they're afraid of what the system might do, because women wield the system as a weapon, and it's geared for women to wield as a weapon. It's not geared for men to get a fair shake, because if a man produces a child with that woman, the state wants that child provided for, and the state's going to look for that man. So if that man is married, the state's saying, okay, we know this man is going to take care of the child because he's married and the mother's living under his roof. Once that woman decides to go elsewhere and file for divorce, now that man's still financially on the hook. And this is what the red pill teaches those men in that regard. And I'm not saying all men have
no.
Right.
I want to add on to what you're just saying. Everything you're saying is true.
Yeah.
And this is why I say is, but what you're looking at, when I say ideologically motivated, right? I want you to ride with me for a second. I'm gonna lay in this thing for you. Okay. Everything you're saying right there is based on fear, scarcity, and lack. It's true and it's real, but it's not anything that we didn't already know. Okay. Now it teaches surface level recognition, because indicators are not absolute, but they're absolutely indicators. So if she got 5 of somebody else's kids, then I don't need the red pill to say that that's a bad deal. Okay. All right. What we need is discernment.
Yeah.
And how to see things and vet them without even having to ask questions. Okay.
Correct.
That is why, remember earlier when I said human beings are separated by behavior, right?
Oh,
You
absolutely. I agree.
You said sexually disciplined people, men and women, and sexually undisciplined men and women. The sexually disciplined men and women are emotionally disciplined. The sexually undisciplined men and women are emotionally undisciplined. Okay. So keep that in mind. Pin that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you want to teach these guys so they can graduate and take that surface level red pill information and actually put it into application. So number one thing they got to stop doing is talking about women that they're not attracted to.
They can. But yeah, go ahead.
You see what I'm saying? Because they're radicalized.
Yeah.
That's my point. When you can't stop talking about something that you're not attracted to, that's a mental illness. Like I said earlier, if you're single by choice, why are you in relationship conversations, right? If you red pill, why do you care to talk and discuss women that you're not attracted to? That's weird, okay? Just like
let me just slide at it. And to me, I think if you keep talking about it, it's almost to the point that's probably somebody you really want, and you just because again, that's probably the same person you end up with.
Because that's why the single fathers and the single mothers are over there. The single fathers are in the red pill community, complaining about the women they made their children with.
Wow.
That's the dating pool.
It is.
Feminist and red pill men is the dating pool. The men that are married don't fit this behavior.
Correct. And to what Victor was saying, that confluence of sex, this is why I always say take sex off the table. When you do that, you're better apt to make a sound decision in terms of what you're doing and who you're dealing with.
And that's exactly where I was about to go. Sexual discipline is ownership of your biological urge to have sex.
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay. So when I talk about this, when you think about the red pill community and the sexual discipline piece of it, right? That's what separates everybody. They can be talking all of this right here and arguing with women, but they get the same women pregnant. So they don't have no sexual discipline. So you can't listen to a man that's sitting up here complaining about 304s in marriage in the same conversation. Why are you worried about 304s if you really want to be married? You know what I'm saying? And the truth is, those dudes got the same options as 50-year-old women looking for marriage. Most of these dudes cannot attract what they talk about. They are out of shape. They got ED and can't do a pull-up. Okay. and they raised by their mamas. They grew up seeing their mamas naked. So they look, ladies.
Yeah, that whole concept with
if they raised by their mama, I'm telling you, raised by their mama, they grew up seeing their mama naked, man.
I ain't never see my mother naked.
I'm telling you. Hey, I got some videos, okay? Not of nobody's naked mama, but some dudes talking about they grew up seeing their mama naked while they was in their 20s.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, so if that's true, if they can sit down and have a round table, yeah, that's cold-blooded, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, ladies.
Yeah, nah.
I'm telling you.
I just want to correct one thing. Ashley, Nufugazi is not. I want to repeat, he is not red pill. And this is why I always ask who are people following that they consider to be red pill. He is grifting off of what the red pill talks about in that aspect. People understand something. People are just now coming into red pill spaces and they're seeing an opportunity to monetize what the red pill talks about in a particular segment. They don't deal with the entire aspect of from beginning to end. What you see is some people who will stay in that, and this is what Victor's talking about when he says graduate from the red pill. You have people who are stuck in the red pill rage. And this is when they come to find out that they've been duped. And now they want, quote unquote, revenge. The revenge is just like Victor saying, it's moving from here to here, getting yourself situated and changing your mindset is something Victor talked about. So you no longer are in that pool of single people who are just looking to have sex. So you move into the category where you're potentially looking for a wife as a man, where you can lead a family. And there's a different aspect that you get to once you get there, because I'm there. I am not opposed to getting married, but in terms of having kids, that, and anybody that's listening to this platform already knows my position on that. I'm not producing any children. So anybody that talks to me about producing kids and having kids, bye. You fine. Go talk to the dude that thinks you're really fine, because I don't think you're that fine with that mindset. And people look at me all types of ways and they say, yo, this dude is crazy. This dude don't know what the hell he's talking about. If I put this in front of him, no. Because I'm, like Victor said, I'm sexually disciplined. You can put the finest woman in the world in front of me naked. I'm like, okay, and that's all you got is that little gas? Oh, bye, shorty. Matter of fact, let me go buy you a new wardrobe, get you dressed, and send your ass up on out of here.
You doing
And the head spin because they think they laid down the trump card, when for me the trump card is not even playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have a lot of these dudes who are led by their loins, they lose every time. But no Fugazi, he's not red pill. He's grifting off of the red pill concept to make some money, and he's doing a good job at it. I'm not mad at him, but this is why I always ask people, who do you follow and who are you talking about when you say somebody's red pill? Because if you follow somebody like Rollo Tomasi, you already know that he's going to give you some pertinent information. The reason why I use Rollo is because he's well known to a lot of other people. For Black people, I talk about BGS because BGS talks about everything from history of feminism to present day. So I have it all covered. And there are some people that I listen to that I don't even talk about in terms of when they talk about male and female dynamics. There's a matter of fact, I'll have to try and drop that in the group one time. But there's a lawyer who talks about how marriage can be a setup, and if he himself, he wouldn't get married. Now, there's schools on both sides of that, and we've talked about what benefits marriage can have for somebody. So it's all in what you want to do. Like I always say, what's in your toolkit? And what's in your toolkit is going to determine how you do certain things. It's going to determine how you move. Victor is saying, what decisions are you making? Where do you come from? Because where you come from is ultimately the baseline foundation of all the decisions that you're going to make that come from there. So if you come from a situation where you've never seen married people, you're more apt to say, hey, look, marriage is just a piece of paper. I don't need to get married. And if you come from a family that's married, you can say, hey, look, being married is all I know. Being married is how I function. So it depends on what your mindset is. And that's going to determine the decision that you make. So you can say red pill, purple pill, blue pill. At the end of the day, what you want and how you want to get there is going to determine the decision that you make. You want to drive? Fine. You want to ride a bike? Fine. You want to walk? Fine. You're going to get to your destination. The only question is how. And if you don't mind your existence being messed up, you're not going to care about the decisions you make. You're just going to make a decision. Oh, I don't care. What you having to eat? I don't care. As long as I get something to eat. Well, guess what? Somebody gonna start feeding you bullshit.
See, and that's why I think the importance of being able to have platforms and having these conversations face to face, it's important. You know, we always talk about how do we move this stuff face to face. I mean, even though I'm in Baltimore, but I'm from Niagara Falls. Like, how do you come there and like, listen, this is what we're gonna do on a Friday night. This is what we're gonna do on a Saturday night. Pull up here. and we'll have a conversation. We'll have drinks, whatever, if that's what you need to do. Food and all that stuff. But we're gonna get deep because
Set up
for
an event.
because for these grown people to, sit up at bars and bob their heads and be in people's ears that you can't hardly hear what people saying, gotta be something better than that shit.
Yeah.
Gotta be something better as you get older. That's for 20-some-year-old people to do. We did that. Now you should elevate and say, damn, how do I want to spend a Friday evening or a Saturday evening? We need professional development happy hours or the weekends, but real substance behind it.
Yep. That's why I was saying, like, this next age that we're in right now,
Mhm.
intellectual property is a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because like we saw the PPP generation of business and stimulus checks and however that worked out for whoever, and we see the reclamation project that's going on and say, hey man, you scammed us out of some money, and now they're trying to deal with that. It's a lot of counterfeit coaches out here,
Yeah.
a lot of prosperity preachers with a microphone, you know what I'm saying? And they're not staying in bounds. They don't even have the outcomes that they telling everybody else that they qualify for. So when I that's why I said, man, like, I don't want to be, I'm cool with being affiliated with Manosphere discussion.
Yeah.
However, I got my own brand, my own doctrine. I'm bigger than the red pill. I'm bigger than the red pill. Because somebody's got to step out and change the tide for it. Because people, like somebody, I think Jada said, if I'm saying his name correctly, said there are extremists in all groups. The question is how in any group is represented in the mainstream media. Propaganda plays a role in information dissemination. Individual responsibility is paramount. And that is a very powerful observation because it implies you need to have media literacy. And that's what's not happening.
Yeah.
See, nobody's talking about media literacy. There's a lot of low-level learners that got access to the same websites. You can look at the same content with 5 or 6 other people and take away completely different talking points because of how you are emotionally set up.
Mhm.
If you're vulnerable or more or less vulnerable, you're going to have different pieces that mean different things to you.
Right.
And somebody might take it and move in a radical direction. You know what I'm saying? Like I studied radicalism. You know what I'm saying? A targeted terrorist. You know what I'm saying? And all of them are inspired by repetition, discipline, training, and being, somewhat like indoctrination or brainwashing for some people, depending on what side of the conversation you're on.
Mm-hmm.
There was there's a guy named Nasser Salam. And he did an interview on 60 Minutes in 2008. He was a political prisoner, got locked up in West Britain, and he got locked up with a bunch of other political prisoners. And they told him while he was in there, "Hey, son, this ain't the way. You need to get out there and go de-radicalize people, right?" So that became his purpose and his mission. And then he left from West Britain, and he went to Lahore in Pakistan to go talk to students. And adults also, a bunch of different, meet and greets and stuff. They were under they were operating under the knowledge and pretense because they function on state-ran media. The government puts whatever they want them to see on TV. Okay, the government in Pakistan programs the people of Pakistan with media, and they don't play any games about it. Right? It is an all-out psyop. They had them convinced. And there may be some truth to some of what I'm about to say in there, from the way that they perceive it, but you should have seen the conviction on their face when they said Osama bin Laden was made up and he's no different than Santa Claus. They said the CIA made it up and he doesn't exist. That's just Western media propaganda. And we know different in the other parts of the world. Whether we believe it or not, there's a different narrative associated with the same thing. Media literacy is the main problem because when the pandemic hit, I said that there was an infodemic. All of a sudden, you saw a lot of people like every time you see somebody repost somebody that died 20 years ago, and they act like they just died. You're like, yo, you're not even doing no research to see if the person passed away. You know, that's a media literacy issue. That is a low-level learner behavior. You know, when you try to tell them something and you stop, you say, go look it up. Like, no, if you was in school, would you tell your teacher to look up something?
Mm.
All right. You see what I'm saying? Like, we've completely reverted from that. And what social media has revealed, it has revealed how people think the world works, not how the world actually works. And those people are very, very easy to see. They're students. They're, you know what I'm saying? They're consumers. Like, there's a big gap between the consumer and the producer. So that's why I keep going back to the intellectual property conversation, because if this stuff is wrong, then we have to do the service of recognizing it and producing a product to correct it.
Yeah, that damage control.
Because the government ain't gonna do it. They don't have this. There's no profit in a cure. And
Right.
and when you start talking about, this is why I say focus on mindset and coaching, not relationships, because your relationship is only going to be as effective and productive as the mindsets in the relationship. We need mindset training across the board. You know what I'm saying? On every single thing, how we deal with conflict. We need conflict resolution skills. That's not going to happen without submitting to higher information or some additional information that reinforces what doing the right thing actually is.
But to think about that, like, where would you get conflict resolution from? You would never get that from anywhere unless
you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to represent it. This is why I say people got to flip that switch in their brain from snapping off and crashing out to the discipline side to say, how many years is this going to take off my life? How much freedom am I willing to sacrifice for this moment? And that determines who you keep in your life. This person, I got a crash out sitting next to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
They okay, but they ain't okay enough for me to lose my freedom behind it. Hey, man, I got to part ways. Nice. Deuces, gone. You know what I'm saying? Respect it, whatever. If you don't like it, go see your savior about it. You know what I'm saying? See you on the news, you know? So you got to make decisions. And for the women that got a bunch of promiscuous girlfriends that don't like the judge, you still lying. You judging.
Yeah.
Life is binary as fuck. I don't give a damn what people say. A right or wrong decision is binary. A choice is binary. That's why there's only two mindsets. You're either disciplined or undisciplined.
Right.
It ain't no in between. We got to be honest about that. See, when you say that, one of the things that I notice is that when you bring up, like a topic where I'm saying, okay, for the sake of argument, you say, well, black men don't do this. And then if black men say, well, you didn't say anything about domestic men, you wouldn't accept that same response from your children. So why are you saying it as a grown ass person?
Yeah.
But we're doing that.
That's deflecting.
It's just that's what I'm saying. We've been deflecting as adults. We've been deflecting for what makes sense, for the sake of preserving an opportunity to go do some bullshit.
Right. That's why
accept that from your own kids, and it's crazy to me.
That's why I tell people there's a lot of discussions that come down to saying this person, this demographic does this and this demographic does that. What about them? I see that. I say that's fine. Now what's the next move?
What's the
now
solution?
What are you gonna do? Right. Because at a particular point in time, just sitting there talking about tit for tat, it does nothing. And it's counterproductive. So if I'm looking to move on, and whatever it is, let's say I'm trying to get my kid to do something and the kid doesn't want it, and they say, well, you don't do this. I'll say, okay, you know what? You're right, I don't. But here's the problem. If you don't do it, you have to answer to me. If I don't do it, I have to answer to somebody else. See, there's a trade-off for you doing what I'm telling you to do. That's I don't get in your ass. Now, if I don't do it, guess what happens? You don't eat. See, we have too many people that want to preach and not enough people that want to teach and lead. And this is the type of nonsense that we get is the back and forth, the tit for tat, and things never improve. I tell people, I'm solutions oriented. So if you ain't talking about solutions at a particular point in time, the discussion becomes needless and bogged down. And I don't have the time for it. I'd rather go sit and read a book. I'd rather go sit and write a short story. I'd rather go sit and write and do something. But I'm not going to sit here and just waste time bantering about nonsense because at the end of the day, it doesn't move the needle.
Yep. That's why I talked about conflict resolution, man.
Yeah.
You can't do it without media literacy, and you can't do it without talking about discipline, both sexual and emotional, because I put 3 arguments together, and I'm gonna close out before I get ready to get out of here.
Yeah.
I said sexual discipline is more important than obesity and racism, because racism is a construct that was in existence before we got here, and it is a global construct. It hits different from place to place, and I understand white supremacy and all that good stuff. Yeah, got it. You know what I'm saying? I'm raised in the South, and my parents grew up in the Jim Crow era, so I saw it. Okay. In fact, like my parents didn't go to school with nothing but black people. It wasn't integrated when my parents went to school. So I didn't grow. I think my generation might have been like one of the first few generations that went to school with white people. You know what I'm saying? So then the next step, like I said, obesity, that's self-inflicted. One is abstract influence, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one being obesity is self, you know what I'm saying? Because like, yeah, I get it. The food's messed up, but you don't have to eat a burger, 4 Whoppers a day. That's a choice, okay? Self-inflicted. And then the last of this, and why I say sexual discipline is so much greater than all of this, is because sex is a conversation that produces communities, literally, figuratively. Like, you got your behavior institutions, you got your foster homes, you got abortion clinics, you got schools, property taxes, neighborhoods, child care, healthcare industry, prenatal care, postpartum situations. It's a big deal. We're literally reproducing the people that's going to hurt us, like you were talking about before. That's not the government doing that. Yes, the government can have some impact on restraints and manipulate certain things, but we still have an individual responsibility to make disciplined decisions.
Right.
And the disciplined decisions that we make are the lessons that your children are learning in nonverbal communication. They're watching the way you move.
Yeah.
So I said it's all to say, if you grew up with a naked mama, you know what I'm saying is true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to post that thing about the naked mama. It's like wow, like yeah, that's wild. That's wild. A mother dancing, darting through whatever naked,
chasing butt naked. You know what I'm saying? Crazy.
To follow up what Victor is saying, the brother from I can't remember what TV show. He is saying his mother, brace yourself, taught him about how to perform oral sex.
Anthony Anderson, I saw that.
Thank you. Yes. I said, oh,
his mama taught him how to eat box. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Those conversations should be had, man. Yo, listen, man, Vic, we appreciate you coming through, man. You can come through anytime, man. Definitely, whatever. Like, this shit, wow. That's all I can say is wow. And
I appreciate you,
somebody else. Sometimes we need somebody else to
Yeah.
put it out there because, you know,
I speak for the man that can't say it. You know what I'm saying? I understand. Like, hey, I speak in code, baby. You know what I'm saying? I got you, you know. So
thank you for coming through, whatever. And man, keep doing what you're doing. And I'm definitely go look into purchasing your book and take a picture with it and hey, move forward, and we just got to keep building and keep having these conversations because
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, yeah, people they'll avoid any of these uncomfortable conversations,
Yeah.
but
Oh
they'll
yeah.
still be in the
Yeah.
same rut that they in, and they looking for explanations or looking for the government or looking for somebody else to take care of it. But that ain't the solution. It's within us to try to make moves.
Yeah. If you got a solution, you can laugh about your situation, man.
Right. Oh man.
No
Teach me
solution,
ever. Yeah.
you just mad. You know what I'm saying? So go talk to your naked mama, man. I'm gone.
Yeah, that naked mama thing. I love that.
Hey, absolutely. Victor, is she on your friends list?
Who? Ashley?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Okay. And this is for anybody. Victor's on my friends list now. So anybody that wants to be on this panel, we welcome anybody. We do not discriminate. Okay. Victor, you can always send her the link if I send it you or whatever the case is, and she is more than welcome to come
Yeah.
join us. Because what people don't understand is every person that comes up here presents a different and unique perspective, and no perspective is wrong. I want people to understand that it's a perspective because we don't know what everybody's experiences are, where they come from, where they're going, or what they have done.
Yeah.
And I know people hear us and sometimes they think, well, they're just up there women bashing. They're not. Sometimes what we say because of the information that we have comes out that way. But when we talk about female topics as we did tonight, how much bashing did you actually hear?
Bashing behavior.
Yeah. Well, and that's what people don't understand. They think when you talk about what people have done, you're talking about the person. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a passage that somewhere that says, "Hate the sin, but not the sinner." That's what we're talking about. But it's hard for some people to separate themselves from their actions because, like Victor said, they are those actions. And when you talk about them, they say, "Oh, you're talking about me." If that's how you want to see it, yeah, we're talking about your ass.
Mhm.
Change.
That's
We only
part-
talking about people that fit the behavior. You know what I'm saying? I bash behavior because you can change that.
Yep,
Yes.
bingo.
Yeah, you can write that down and don't nobody have to know it. Like nobody has to know you grew up with a naked mama. Just write it down and then deal with that. And don't put that on nobody else. You know what I'm saying?
that's just
I'm driving the point home. I'm not playing about this. You know what I'm saying?
I know that. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep.
It's deep. It's deep.
Hey, Marietta's trench deep.
Make you go back and look at your friends different. You're like, man, I know you still broke up from that. You know what I'm saying? Because that impacts the way you attracted to certain people. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
because
man.
because if she big and ugly, you might not like them no more. You see what I'm saying?
Big Shirley.
You see that shawarma meat on the back. You know what I'm saying? You're like, no, bro. You know what I'm saying? They like,
We appreciate, man, Victor. We do appreciate your perspective, man, and everything that you dropped right here, man. Because and this is not the only thing we talk about. We talk about childhood drama, work-related things. I mean, we cover the gambit, so I'm sure with your expertise in the things that you definitely be able to provide some perspectives that David and I can't. We had another panel member. She's not on tonight. That's also a military combat, and also for me personally, thank you for your sacrifice. I don't like to use
service.
the old cliche because it sounds cliche to me, and I can't. But I do understand that anybody that goes into the military, they are making a sacrifice. So I do
It is a
appreciate what
sacrifice.
you've done, man.
Man, appreciate that, man. You gentlemen have been great. I appreciate the opportunity to come up here and speak on your platform.
No problem.
I have a platform also on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel for you people that's asking. Look up Accountable Masculinity University on YouTube. I just dropped the link in the chat so you guys can find it. And you'll see some of the other content that I've done. You'll also see Miss Ashley Marie. I've done content with her.
Okay.
And, you know. And for you other content creators that's out there, I'm looking to help you amplify and shape your message for your audience and improve your narrative for 2025. So if you're really trying to grow your community and educate your community, contact me and book a consultation. I'm talking to the content creators, you know. So people with a message and a purpose, need some purpose, direction, and motivation, holla at your boy.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All right, now.
All right, man. Be safe, man.
All right, man. We appreciate you.
All right. With that said, I'm about to wake up Auntie. She about to close it out. If I can get her up. She's gonna come with a different message than him, but I'm hoping I can pull her up. She might be asleep. Let me see. Because Auntie got a lot to say, but it's not like him. It's more of a different version. So let me see.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing, counselor in the Big Bad Wolf? This is Auntie, and I wanted to come on for a few minutes because it's getting late. It is getting late, and I just wanted to talk about that show. Now I did the promo yesterday, and I really been thinking, and I said I'm gonna push myself to stay up so I can come on here and share my knowledge with you young people. So I think the title is what? Ultimatums, the ultimate decision, whether you want to stay single, married, or divorced. Let me touch on a little bit of everything. Single. Now, ultimately, I don't give a damn what these people say, these women say, and even some of your men, that everybody wants somebody. Because when you start getting up in age, you want somebody to share things with, whether you go on trips just to go get some ice cream, just somebody to watch TV with. And if somebody say they, rather be single and they single by choice, I think they full of shit, to be honest. I'm going to be honest. But my thing is this. For me, as far as being single, if I'm going to be single, I'm going to be working on some goals. I'm going to be doing things. I don't care if I have to go back to school at my age or just working on projects. I'm going to be doing something. See, the problem with this generation, they think because they single, they think they quote unquote independent, and they like to run the streets, go out, and all that stuff, think they're going to find a man. Now, what type of man you really going to find out, to be honest? Most hardworking men, they may go out here and there. It's usually a special occasion, but they busy trying to make money. But those men y'all be seeing at the bar, all they doing is tricking their little money that they probably got from somebody else. And y'all love to be up in their faces. Ladies, take your asses out home and do something constructive. So I don't know, single, being independent. I mean, it's all about what you're trying to do with your singlehood. That's what I'm saying. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be free," but at the end of the day, you want somebody. If that makes sense. Um, Let me see what else. Oh, marriage. Now, marriage, we know that people want to get married. I mean, guys try to hold out. And at this point, the stuff I've been seeing on YouTube, a lot of guys are saying, why even get married? Well, one of the things you want to think about stability and security. That's always important. But just compromising and supporting each other. When you have that in the marriage and you have a solid foundation and you're building things together, it's all sweet. And you got to have a little intimacy too. You got to. And that's important. But again, some of y'all never gonna get to that step. It's by the people you hang with, the crowds you keep, and the things that you do, your behaviors, the behaviors you're doing when people ain't looking at you. So you probably never get married. And if you had been married, your kid be running out of time. And so, but when it's beautiful, everything is good. And so again, I don't know. It depends on what you're looking for. Again, you want to be married, you might want some security or stability. So you got to think about your age. You got to think about your job situation. You got to think about children. You got a lot to think about. And then finally, the divorce. Man, I'm telling you right now, a lot of times people, in my day, people stayed with men just to be staying with them because they didn't want to break up the family and all of that stuff for the kids. But now all this mental anguish that people be having and domestic violence, people not doing right. If you need to get a divorce, you get a divorce. But let me say this. Let me say this too. I know for me, if that was me, once I get divorced, we done. I don't want shit from the man. I don't want no alimony pay. I don't want to pay no, I don't want him paying no child support. We done, we done. And I think that's a problem with a lot of y'all. Y'all don't really want to let these younger ladies, y'all don't want to let these men go. Let them go. Let them go. Y'all want to be in their pockets. Y'all want to control everything. The only thing you can control is yourself. So, as far as like I said, if it's that bad and it's causing you stress and you mentally stressed out, then you have to let it go and try to start all over, start fresh. Because I tell you, stress kills. And then again, with all this violence, whatever, you might end up killing a man. He end up killing you. So just let him go about your business, and find you a good support system and hang out with them. So I'm a little bit all over the place because I'm getting a little tired. Got to go take my high blood pressure medicine. Then I got to get up tomorrow. I got an appointment in the morning. Got to go to the eye doctor, and I got to eat my oatmeal before I go. So I just wanted to come on here, and I'm gonna be popping in because there'd be a lot of nonsense circulating around. And and I just want to say, I don't think I got nothing else to say. So again, you decide what you want to be: single, married, or divorced. Whatever makes you happy, live with it and be the best version of you can be. Some of y'all want to be other people. And I think the day in social media, I said I was going to start showing my pretty face more on social media, but I don't know, because sometimes I read through that, everybody want to look alike. Everybody want to try to do the same thing. Everybody want to dress alike, all of that. So we got a bunch of clones running around here, and that ain't cool. If I was a man, I want to see a woman that stand out. She walked different. She had different mannerisms. She smelled different. Had different hairstyle. That's what I like. Like this. I look good. And it's a lot of men still. I know when I go to that appointment tomorrow, it's gonna be people looking at me. These men that be in there. I'm like, Auntie don't want it. Auntie don't. You ain't good to me, and you can't help me. Auntie don't want it. I'm telling you. So that's that. You gotta be your own individual. Now, if I'm a woman looking for a man, I want the same thing. I want him to stand out. I want him to be his own self. I want him to have his own brand or version. And when people speak on him, they know what he stands for. And let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. I know they be talking about get you a God-fearing man, a church man. Them men ain't worth the shit either. They not. So it's like playing Russian roulette. You just gotta pick and choose and screen appropriate. I heard you talk about that big bad wolf about that vetting. That vetting. At first, I didn't know what that word meant. I thought you meant like you somebody from the veterinary, like it's something to do with pets and stuff. But I had looked it up. Auntie still got her dictionary from high school that I read sometime. But all right, I've been talking long enough. I'm getting tired. I get to rambling and rambling. I hope my points made some sense to y'all. Because God bless y'all. We need to change this world around and do better things. And I pray for all of y'all. And remember, Auntie loves y'all all. And she wants the best for y'all. So please take something I said and take it to heart. All right, everybody have a good evening. God bless you. And I'll see y'all soon, really soon, if I live tomorrow and the next day. I hope to see y'all soon. Good night.
Like you said, you heard her.
So there you have it, whatever. So tonight, interesting show. Thank Victor for coming on with his information and knowledgeable. Auntie with her perspective. And you just have to make a decision of what you're gonna do, who you receiving information from, and what's your next moves moving forward. And a lot of times it's just surroundings and again your level of stepping up and saying, hey, this is what I need to do, this is what I need for fulfillment. But again, I always gonna go piggyback on that. In your 40s, 50s, boredom is not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable at all. You saying that shit, I'm bored. I gotta get outside. Outside to do what? That's the shit we said when we was kids. To do what? To do what? Unless you going out to build upon something that you could be productive. People gotta grow up. People gotta grow up. This is the one thing I can say, and I'm gonna conclude my thing with this. This 40 and 50-year-old generation we have is much more immature than the 40 and 50-year-old like our mothers and stuff like and grandmothers. It's so much immaturity compared to them. And I don't know if it's a sense of entitlement or we got more resources so we can act like kids or whatever, but they're not really understanding the bigger picture. So that's my closing comments. Grow up. Don't accept boredom. Unless you accomplished everything. And this is my last point. And I always tie parallels to middle school and adulthood. I always tell kids, like, unless you got all A's, you always got something to do. You always got something to do. If you ain't got all A's, you got shit to do. So if you ain't content and your bank account ain't a certain way and your household ain't a certain way, boredom is not something that should be a part of your vocabulary. I'm done. Go ahead, Herb. Closing comments.
You know how I like to end. You know, that little gray matter. Growth and understanding occurs there. Are you putting a brick in the wall or you taking one out? Godspeed. See you next time.
Gina, you said how many takes did it take? Too funny. Thank you. It didn't take too many takes. That was authentic. Whatever. Auntie, she gonna be around. She gonna be around as long as she can get up and sleep well. Like we was lucky to wake her up because she got that appointment tomorrow to see the eye doctor, and also she got to make sure she eat her oatmeal. So she gonna be around. So it was just authentic and genuine. So it happened. Look forward to seeing Auntie give her perspectives in the counselor's corner. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate you all for joining us. Great show tonight. Start off 2025. And hey, Vic said he was cooking tonight.
Yes, sir.
Saying that hey, he want all the smoke. And that's what I think we need to light a flame under people. And I think that's the thing for 2025. Your ass might get torched, so you better be making moves. Mm-hmm. We coming for you. We coming for you, and that's it. So you choose, or either you say, "Damn, I better get on board," or keep doing what you're doing, keep getting the same results. And we know how that story ends. We out. Everybody have a good evening. Stay warm. Stay safe. And I'm going to enjoy my day off from the schoolhouse tomorrow. Best believe that. And I'm going to eat me some oatmeal in the morning, too. All right. Y'all be good. Take care. See you soon. Peace.
All right, people. Y'all be safe.